My stepmother spent years convincing Dad I was irresponsible with money, so I bought her dream house at auction and evicted her the day after his funeral. When Dad married Veronica, I was 16 and desperate for a mother figure. She seemed perfect, elegant, soft-spoken, always asking about my grades and future plans. "Your father is so proud of you," she'd say, squeezing my shoulder. "But you need to learn responsibility with money." It started small. She'd mentioned to Dad how I'd bought coffee instead of making it at home, how I'd chosen name-brand cereal over generic. She'd frame it as concern. "I just want what's best for her future," she'd tell him after I'd gone to bed. I could hear them through the walls. But her reports got more elaborate. She'd claim I'd bought expensive clothes when I'd shopped at thrift stores. She'd say I was eating out constantly when I lived on ramen and peanut butter sandwiches. By my senior year, Dad was monitoring every purchase. When I got into state university, he refused to help with tuition. "You need to learn the value of money," he said, echoing her words exactly. "Take out loans, work your way through." Meanwhile, Veronica redecorated our entire house. New furniture, new car, European vacations. When I questioned it, Dad snapped. "She's earned this. She's responsible." I worked 3 jobs through college, living on ramen and thrift store clothes. Veronica would post pictures of their luxury trips while I couldn't afford textbooks. She'd somehow convinced Dad I was secretly living an extravagant lifestyle on his money. After graduation, I moved across the country for a tech job. Every call home was Dad lecturing me about my spending habits based on Veronica's increasingly wild reports. She'd somehow convinced him I was buying designer purses and expensive electronics with my salary. "Show me your bank statements," he demanded during one visit. I did. Minimal spending, maximum savings. Dad looked confused. "Veronica said you bought a designer purse last month." I showed him my $15 Target bag. That's when I realized she'd been fabricating evidence for years. But Dad was already too deep under her influence. When I tried to explain, he accused me of trying to turn him against his wife. She'd poisoned him against me so thoroughly that my own father couldn't believe his daughter over his manipulative wife. 3 years ago, Dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. During his final months, Veronica kept me away, claiming my presence was too stressful for his recovery. "He needs rest," she'd say, blocking the door. "Your drama stresses him out." I hired a private investigator who discovered she'd been systematically stealing my identity for years. Fake credit cards, forged receipts, altered bank statements. She'd created an entire fictional narrative of my irresponsible spending. She'd also changed Dad's will, reducing my inheritance to almost nothing. Dad died on a Tuesday. At the funeral, Veronica sobbed dramatically about losing her soulmate. She announced she was moving to the Hamptons house she'd always dreamed of owning. "I deserve this after everything I've sacrificed," she told the mourners. What she didn't know was that I'd spent 5 years building a tech company. My net worth had hit 8 figures 6 months before Dad died. That afternoon, I drove to the Hampton property she'd been obsessing over for years. The for sale sign had been up for months. I called the realtor. The next morning, Veronica was packing Dad's belongings when I knocked on her door, holding an eviction notice and a set of keys. "What is this?" she asked, her face going pale. "Your eviction notice," I said calmly. "You have 24 hours to vacate my property." She stared at the keys in my hand, the keys to 47 Ocean View Drive, the sprawling Hampton estate she'd shown me pictures of for 3 years. I couldn't fit what happens next in this short video. Watch the rest down below.